ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Ledbetter, and I'm here with my good friend, Ethan Raynor. Let me tell you how good of friends we are. I text him on Sunday, hey, bro, when can you show up at my house at 5 a.m. to do a 30-minute workout? The next day, he shows up at 5 a.m., and we go up there, and we do an acid bath. He's never done an acid bath before, and we did it.
And that's why we're enemies, because he tried to kill me.
So we're boxing, right? So one of our workouts we box. He puts on the headgear. He puts on the thing. I'm going so freaking hard. And I live in an old house that's got glass doorknobs. My wife doesn't even know this yet. And
You'll find out.
And he backs me, and I turned so hard, my hip broke off the glass doorknob. Bro, it didn't cut me, but it hurt. I had a bruise. It was like my love handle that hit it so hard that it broke the freaking glass doorknob.
5:30 in the morning. Kids asleep. Wife's asleep.
So we've been friends for a long time. It's been almost 20 years.
It's been a long time.
Mother
been great.
F. Ethan's my spotter now. So whenever I have a live auction, which isn't a lot because it's just too easy to do it online, I run the computer and I talk, and Ethan is my eyes for the live. Remember how we did that last time?
Yeah.
I love that. So tell us about you and the auction business. You had you and your dad had a company, and your brother, Raynor's HCA.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So it was Raynor's Historical Collectible Auctions. My dad bought Historical Collectible Auctions from Dennis Holzman and Eric Karen way back in the mid-'90s. So they were both antique dealers, and Eric was a very prolific paper dealer. So they had an opportunity to sell their auction because they just didn't want to deal with the mundane stuff. People, yeah, exactly.
People make the business
hard. They'd rather be consigners. So my dad bought the auction. I started working with him while I was in college. Started getting into cataloging. So Eric helped me out a lot with that, like showing me what items were, how to describe them, what a sepia tone photograph is, nice chocolatey brown, the difference between partially printed documents and completely handwritten manuscript documents. Then in 2001, my brother was in the World Trade Center. So he was in one of the towers that collapsed. And he was working for...
But he's still alive.
Still alive. So he was working for a networking company. They obviously were no longer around after that. So he started working in New York just on a couple different businesses. And then he decided to join us in our family business. So we did that for, I think, about 10 years together, my brother and I. My dad and I did it about 20 years together. My dad still runs the company. I'm just not involved. My brother's not involved.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's worth talking about. So, yeah, when I met you guys, Ryan disclosed that he was in one of the towers when it got hit.
He was. And
it is riveting to talk to somebody that was actually there. I mean, obviously you're his brother, so you know it all. But
yeah, he was on the 83rd floor, worked for a company, I think it was the 83rd floor, worked for a company called Network Plus. I just can't recall if it was the first or the second building to collapse. But I do remember calling him after we saw one of the planes hit, and spoke to him just briefly, and he said that they were exiting the building, they were heading down the stairs, and to call my mom and tell her that he loved her, and then we're watching on TV, see both buildings collapse.
So, like, for a little bit of time, you didn't know?
Had no contact with him. Yeah, I had assumed he was dead.
Wow.
Yeah, so, I shed a lot of tears, but I think it was probably 5 or 6 that evening that we heard from him. Yeah, so he ended up walking over the Brooklyn Bridge and walking back home. He was in southern Brooklyn at that time. Yeah, when the building collapsed, he grabbed one of his friends who was a female, and picked her up and started running down the alley.
Because your brother's like 6'6".
Yeah, 6'6". He's 350 pounds.
Yeah, is he that big now?
Now he's like 306 or 305. He's about to go sub 3. You know,
he was on a workout. So when I opened, this is crazy. When I opened my gym, he was my first one-on-one adult client.
See, he touts that all the time.
Dude, I had his ass doing crazy. So I opened a sports performance gym, and I had this 6'6", 350-pound man in there. Like, I'm used to having 10-year-olds do this. So he had an 8-pound medicine ball. He would shuffle 10 yards and throw it to me. And the first time he threw me an 8-pound medicine ball, I was only like 10 yards away. bro almost broke my fingers.
Oh,
and I'm
man.
like, hold on.
I can't wait till I tell him that.
Yeah. So that was crazy. And he was relentless, man. He trained like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, he's got a drive to him. So, yeah, he's back into that. He's trying to really help himself out because of inhaling all that stuff after the World Trade. He ended up getting cancer. He had a tumor in his throat and had that taken care of 2 years ago. So,
I'll end this with this. When my kids go to school on that day, I pull up YouTube footage, actual footage of that day, because I know the school's not going to show them.
yeah.
And I say, this is what today's about.
Yep.
You watch this, you listen to this, and it's always a moment.
It's good. That's one of the things that we do as dads is we pass down information to our children.
Yeah. I mean, I really want them to know what that day was, not just whatever the teachers tell them. I want to make sure that there's some pretty riveting footage out there.
Yeah. Sad stuff, and Rye will talk about some of that, on days when he's lubricated.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember him saying when the tower fell, it created such a dust cloud that they couldn't see anything. And that's, I guess, what he inhaled.
Yeah.
And they were just feeling their way. And most of the businesses would not let them in.
Yeah. And he heard somebody yelling from I think it was his right side and saying, "Here, come here." And he grabbed up his coworker and ran towards that voice, and they had opened a side door, and he got in there. Well, a lot of that dust cloud.
Because mostly they didn't know what was next.
Yeah, no.
I mean, they didn't know what was coming next.
Yep.
Like, that just happened, and here we are just walking the streets.
Yeah.
So, man.
Scary. Just got to be, just aware of every day could be your last day.
For sure.
So we just got to live life and live it every moment.
Yeah, no doubt. That brought him out of New York and brought him working with you guys.
Right. So then it was us three.
And then here comes Matt Ledbetter, auctioneer extraordinaire.
There he goes. And you did a live auction for us, and it was awesome.
You would have me bid calling the items while you guys were on the phone.
Yep.
And I remember one lady got in a fit. She was like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited. Bid."
Yep.
Yeah.
And I can't Nancy Howell. That's who that was.
Wow,
yeah.
that's a good memory.
From out in California. She was really nice.
Do you remember when we tried to start a Americana pottery and folk art
we
section,
did.
So I brought like 40.
And you were quite disappointed,
I don't know if I was disappointed. You know why I was disappointed? Because Joe bought my monkey jug.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was the monkey jug man.
Oh.
I got it back though.
Good.
Yeah, he bought it for $500. He charged me $1,500.
That's very Joe.
Like several years later.
Well, that's
yeah. The market increased. Do you think I was disappointed? I wasn't. This is real. I wasn't that disappointed.
Well, this is the thing is, at that time we weren't live on like Live Auctioneers or any place like that. So
really?
we didn't have a that wide of an audience.
I think it's
we had our
it's
stuff.
It's on Live Auctioneers.
That stuff.
That
was?
sale, yeah, that sale was.
Maybe it was one of our first ones because we used to just do our own auction site,
right?
And then we would do phone bids.
Yeah, you had a server. I remember Ryan. Yeah. Well, that's one thing Ryan did. He ran all that technical stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
So I remember y'all having your own server, and that was way over my head. I'm like, what the hell? But Ryan is the very first person who showed me anything about product photography.
Really?
Yeah. So I would ask him questions like, how do you get the item to sit there and it doesn't look like it's a background? And so he's the one that showed me the curve. And so that's how that look comes about, which that's dead. Nobody really does that anymore.
Yeah. But he was into all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. He knew it. I remember the time you called me at 10 p.m. and said, "Matt, I need your help." I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "We got to go help Ryan." And he was hiding in a ditch or something. That's when you know you got friends, bro. Have you ever had to stand by a piece with a shotgun?
No, but when we did have the 13th Amendment, we had to buy a safe and all that kind of stuff for just that item. That wasn't a consignor request. That was just for our, ourselves. So it didn't stay around very long after that price hit.
Oh, I'm sure.
We got it out quickly.
Yeah, get that out the door.
Yeah.
So what was the second? We're going to end this here, but what was that? What was the second best piece you guys sold? The most expensive?
Was the Declaration of Independence, the stone copy of it.
Right on.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So that was one of 25-ish that were made. And it was early 1800s, but they had taken the Declaration itself and wetted it and put a stone on it and got an imprint from it and then pressed copies.
They wet
They wet it.
the original. The original.
Yeah.
So when the Declaration of Independence was written, it was handwritten,
Right.
and it's big. I mean, I got a picture holding the stone copy, and it was big.
Yep. So it was.
So the original is big.
Yep.
So the day that they wrote the Declaration of Independence, how many did they write? Do you know?
I don't know how many.
Not just one.
No, I want to say they wrote 2 for each colony. So I want to say like 26. Yep.
So they take what is the original Declaration of Independence,
Right.
wet it,
Yep.
put a stone over it, and the ink comes out onto the stone.
I think that they wet it and put the stone on it, and then the ink transferred to that stone.
Right.
And then they made copies from that stone. So they would.
So then they put the original back.
Yep.
Wow.
And they would take paper and make that, and I want to say they had like 25 or 26 copies of that too.
So that's what you got.
We had one of those. Yeah.
Now the story of the guy. How did the guy find this?
So that guy got the stone copy from like a Goodwill or one of those types of stores, and I want to say he paid under $5. I just can't remember exactly how much it was.
Right.
I want to say it was like $2.
Right.
You know, I know it was under $5.
Right.
And he started doing some research on it, and it looked to him like it was similar to the ones that they had sold before. You know,
Right.
other auctions had sold before. So he called us. He was out in Tennessee, and he called us. We used to get a lot of Southern consigners, you know, because we were dealing with, you know, in our circle, you know, you had Sotheby's, Christie's, Swans.
Let's think about this. Your auction company was in the same conversations as Christie's, Sotheby's.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Swans,
that's big time.
yeah.
I mean, you're not going to hear Ledbetter Folk Art, Christie's, Sotheby's. You know what I'm saying? No, you're not.
You
No,
might.
you're not.
You might. You never
So
know.
I just want to allude to everybody that this is anybody that knows anything about auctions, you immediately think Christie's, Sotheby's, Raynor's HCA is in that same conversation when it comes to paper.
Yeah, and it would be for you too with pottery. You know, somebody brings a Day of the Slave in. You know, I mean, that it all it takes is one big item, you
Right.
know, to put you on the map.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and remember we went and looked at a Day of the Slave, and it was like it sold for $25,000, and we're like, wow, you know, that's
Yeah,
a lot of money, but we probably should have bought it. If we had that kind of money, it would have been a good investment.
Well,
They're selling for.
So my memory's really good. We drove to Virginia. It was 5 hours. You were pissed because you were trading stocks and something happened that day. Ryan made a bunch of money. And you're like, I can't believe I drove 5 hours up here to do this.
Oh man,
No, like it was a big deal. Like Ryan made thousands of dollars. And I don't know, but you were, I didn't know nothing about stocks, but you were trading back then.
Yeah.
And there wasn't no cell phones to trade off of. Jeff Evans. We rode up to Jeff Evans.
Yep.
And it brought 42,000.
Did it?
Yeah. And I remember us sitting at the computer. Like,
What would it sell for now?
I don't know. I mean, dude, they were bringing $300,000. A poem jug's bringing like the one that sold like 1.3 million.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I really enjoy coming through your auction house and looking at the stuff that you got here because there's so many pieces that I would have never seen before.
Right.
You know, and to see the folk art and to see people just put ideas onto paper or pottery or wood, you know, it's just really cool.
Yeah. Well, folk art is something that anybody can do. You don't have to be skilled to do it. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what. So the painting hanging on the wall there, the big one, the pink, the pink. That's Mary T. Smith.
Okay.
And several people have come in to pick up pottery, and they're not really into the self-taught art, and they'll look at that and they'll say, "Huh, I could do that." I actually had people say that. Brent actually said that. Brent, he's not really into the art like that, so he says that. So this is what I said. I said, Brent, I understand what you're saying, and I don't doubt that you could do it, but here's the deal: go do it, do 500 of them, and then let's talk and keep going for the next 15 years.
There you go.
And that's the difference. Then I got some Souls Grown Deep books out. So I got that book out. I turned to Mary T. Smith, and I said, Brent, it's not the art. It's the story.
There you go.
And then you see Mary T. Smith, and behind her, there's 50 pieces of her work. And it doesn't change. It all looks the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is what makes that piece of art. Not the fact that it just looks like a kid did it, but this is the child that did it, a 70-year-old African-American who this was her art.
Yeah.
And,
Really cool.
I don't hate Brent for it.
He wouldn't feel it, so why even hate him?
I know. I feel like he doesn't have a frontal lobe. Dude, when he would, so I almost hit Brett once.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was 25, and me and Adam had picked two daguerreotypes. General in Virginia brought like 4. We went back to get the diary, the Confederate general's diary. And in my head, y'all ended up selling it for us.
Okay. What did we bring? What did it bring?
Like $4,000. Dad wasn't with me on this. This is me and Adam. I didn't start picking until I got with Adam. Like, my dad did everything when me and him was in the truck, but I really got it when and he told me, he said, listen, if you're ever going to learn anything in this business, you got to get away from me. Mm-hmm. And, my first run was with Jimmy Lambert, John's dad, and we went on a 2-week run. 2 weeks in a truck.
It's a long time.
2 weeks staying in a hotel room. Went to Kokomo, Indiana to drop an engine off, and then picked our way back. And, I'm talking about 2 weeks. I've never picked on a Sunday before. I've never picked on a Saturday. Yeah. The first Sunday rolled around. Jimmy says, Mickey always went and picked on Sunday. I just sit here and watch the race. So I said, well, I was 25. I said, Jimmy, what do you want me to do? He said, just take the truck and go picking. We didn't have cell phones that worked like that. This was in like 2006.
Yeah.
Not even, maybe 2005. So here I am in BFE, Pennsylvania, or wherever I'm at, leaving out on a Sunday to go knock doors. And I think I bought I don't even know, like a fishing tackle box. It was just, I was more scared than anything.
Watching you pick, though, is great.
Yeah, because I'm the man. And this is how I would do it. This is why I'm not going to do it, because I would be out for blood.
You did get cuffed before, didn't you?
I didn't ever got handcuffed, but they took our pictures on the side of the road. They wanted us to buck, but we didn't. We just laughed. They said there's 2 individuals. We were in the deep south of Georgia. It was like an FBI agent looking guy. He come up wearing a suit. He said, we walked through a yard that I was in talking to a lady. He says, we got a little problem here. We need to check your license, make sure. He did that. He let us go, got in behind us, pulled us over again, made us get out of the car. And he says, we understand that there's 2 individuals impersonating government officials. We need to take your photograph. What he wanted me to do, and my dad was a lot younger than he was 20 years younger. He wanted us to say, no, you ain't taking our photograph, and get an attitude. Then he was just going to arrest us. Well, we didn't. We said, sure, go ahead. And he took our photograph and we left. That was the worst that ever happened. But then the picking show came out and it all changed. The last time me and Dad got pulled over, one of the last times we got pulled over was because he peed on the side of the road. And then the cop pulled us over and goes, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
why did you just do that? And he's like, what? I can't hold my water.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there
as I'm getting older, Wade, I feel you there.
Now, Mickey got pulled over in Georgia, got put in jail for 3 days because he was a murder suspect. Like, they didn't know. And, it could get very serious. Now, they figured out he wasn't the one, and they let him go.
Well, that's good.
Mickey's one of the best pickers that Mebane ever had. You're not picking unless you're getting pulled over. That's the deal. A real picker gets pulled over. One of the last times me and Dad got pulled over, first cop comes, he's young, gung-ho. What are y'all doing? We're getting some complaints that y'all are knocking on people's doors. We're like, Then this old cop comes in behind him, slaps his back. Don't you know who these people are? They're pickers. Hey, you guys found anything yet? He watched the show. And we had these signs on the car that said, we were picking America. They were American pickers, whatever. Yeah. So it's totally changed. It's more, people are receptive to it. That TV show makes it easier.
I remember doing that.
We bought a stretcher. Me and you went picking in Alamance County and bought a stretcher-based table.
I remember that.
Oh, my God.
And your dad said it was worth $10,000, and I was all excited, and then it brought $400. Who knows what's going on now?
All right, so me and Ethan picking. So the only thing I really knew how to pick sometimes was pottery. So we're picking in Alamance County. I paid $40 for this. It was on the floor beside a bed. See where it says J.M. Lawyer right there?
Yeah.
We sold this at Mebane. Brought $450. Look at it. It's all cracked up. The guy that bought it came back to Mebane the next week and boasted to me, I resold that jar. I doubled my money. He sold it to a doctor in Greensboro, who later on I befriended over an Isaac Lefevre that I bought off of an auction, live auctioneers. They didn't know it was Isaac Lefevre. It wasn't signed. He bought it from me off eBay. I show up at his house. He's like, got a bunch of pottery. We connected on it. He was the one that bought this.
Okay.
That was like 10 years ago. And just the other week, he's deaccessioning some of his pottery, and it is back.
Full circle.
It is back with Ledbetter. This piece of pottery is close to 200 years old. Okay. That's number one. This is a signed Alamance County J.M. Loy. It has a deep impressed stamp. Yes, it has a crack. Okay. But let's put this in terms of a painting. The most valuable paintings, the Mona Lisa, has been repainted how many times? 50 times?
I don't know.
It's called restoration, okay? 200-year-old piece of pottery. It has a crack, signed J.M. Loy. One of the most undervalued items in Americana.
Really?
Absolutely. Salt glazed pottery. The point is this. This is back, bro. I walked out of a house with this.
Yeah.
At one time, into the truck, sold it, and then 15 years later, it's now back. I mean, to me, that's pretty cool.
I think it's great. It's great. Because they come full circle.